Is anyone there? Is someone listening again to what should no longer be played? This person hasn't forgotten. They hit play like someone poking at a wound that never healed. They choose the same songs, in the same order, at the same times. And it's not a coincidence, it's not pretty nostalgia, it's not a good memory. It's a desperate attempt to relive, to hold on to something that no longer responds, to sustain with sound what is no longer present. This person still feels it all, even if they pretend to feel nothing, even if they say they've moved on, that they've gotten over it, that it's past. But it hasn't passed, it's all right there, held within the lyrics, hidden in the chorus, trapped between one verse and another, as if your voice is still intertwined with the melody, and it doesn't matter how many times they try to change the song, they always end up coming back, because it was with these songs that everything began, and it's with them that this person tries not to let it all end inside. Do you notice this? Someone keeps replaying the soundtrack of what you lived, and not because they want to go back, but because they don't know how to move on. Because moving on would mean accepting that it's over, and accepting that would be dying all over again. This person knows you might not even think about it anymore. You might have even changed your playlist. You might not even remember what you sang together in the car, in the shower, or late at night, but still, they continue listening, alone, softly, with a lump in their throat, and a deafening silence between tracks. This person tries to stay strong, but chooses to suffer slowly, chooses to punish themselves, chooses not to let go, because within the music, you're still there. And even if there's no one else listening along, the illusion that you might still remember still holds something inside. If this touched you, comment, "I needed to hear this." Because maybe the most painful part isn't the end. It's the repetition, the routine of continuing to listen to what no longer responds. There's something that no one talks about, something that no one confesses, because it seems too small to justify so much pain, but you feel it, and this person feels it too. The music starts, and with it, everything comes back. It doesn't take much, just a chord, a line, a beat, and the memory unfolds completely, without asking for permission, without checking if it can hurt again. This person is still listening. Nobody sees, nobody notices, but they remain there in the same place where everything stayed, in the dark room, on the crowded bus, lying down, with the headphones on and the world turned off. There's nothing romantic about it. It's exhausting, it's torturous, but still, this person chooses to go back to that place every day, even knowing they won't find you on the other side of the music, because it's not about hope, it's not about reconciliation, it's about not allowing everything to be forgotten so easily. It's about holding on to a part of life that was carelessly ripped away. We don't realize how much a song holds until we lose it, until we realize that the lyrics that once made us smile now tear everything apart inside. And there's something even crueler. The music stays the same. The voices, the instruments, the pauses, the exact seconds, everything remains unchanged. What changed is how you feel when you listen. And this person keeps listening, to feel, to hurt, to remember, to keep alive what no longer responds. It's strange, right? But maybe you've done this too. You played that song you swore you'd never listen to again and let it play on purpose, to feel the pain, to not forget. This person does that almost every day, and no one knows, no one imagines. They think they're okay, that they've turned the page, that they've moved on, but inside, they're still trapped in the last stanza of You Too. And it's not because they want to, it's because they no longer know how to be anything else, because the music has become both a refuge and a prison at the same time. Do you feel the weight of that? It's not just about longing, it's about emotional survival, about keeping a memory alive inside the heart, even though it hurts every time she breathes. And the saddest part is that this person doesn't listen for you. She listens for herself, to remember who she was, before the absence, before the silence, before everything turned into distance. Some people keep photos, some people keep rings. This person keeps sound, and within the sound everything repeats. Even when the world says to forget, even when people say, "Why keep listening to this?" But the world doesn't understand what those lyrics carry. It doesn't know what that beat used to rock her. It doesn't know how many tears mix with each chord. It's as if her heart was screaming there, disguised, trying to find a way in the past to cope with the present. If this touched you up to here, what's comment? I needed to hear this, because maybe you're also listening, or you already listened, or you are avoiding listening. But the truth is, no one completely forgets the sound of a love that left a mark. We try. We change the song, change the address, change the person, but certain emotional frequencies keep vibrating inside, even in silence. And if you've made it this far, it's because some part of you is still listening too. This person doesn't know how you feel today. She doesn't know if you remember too. She doesn't know if there's still a moment of longing inside you, but she keeps listening. Even so, even alone, even when everything around says to stop. And this is the detail that almost no one understands. To listen again is a way not to give up completely, not to abandon the story, not to accept that everything that was lived has turned into just the past. This person is still waiting for some answer that doesn't come, some sign, some feeling, some coincidence that says, you remembered too, even if you pretend to have forgotten, even if you really have forgotten. But if you haven't forgotten, tell me, have you ever tried to listen again and had to stop midway because the pain was greater than the music? Have you gone through this? If so, comment, I know how it is, because some people seem fine. It says they're okay, that they even post like they're fine. But they return home, close the door, put on their headphones, and surrender to the same song that carried both of you. It's in that moment this person allows themselves to be what no one sees. And this isn't weakness. It's a kind of loyalty that's hard to explain. Is it attachment? Maybe. Is it still love? Perhaps. Is it pain? Without a doubt. But it's also a way to not lose themselves completely. Because if they abandon the sound, there's only silence left. And in this case, silence hurts more than any chorus. This person knows they can't bring you back, but they keep finding you in every song you shared. They keep playing as if there's some chance you might hear it too, to notice, to feel, to remember. Are you listening now? Can you recall what your song was? The one that played when everything felt light? The one that made both of you look at each other for the first time in a different way? It's still alive in someone, and maybe you don't listen anymore. But someone is listening for you. That's why I need to tell you, this person hasn't moved on. They've only learned to coexist. They've only learned to hit plays without breaking on the outside. But inside, they still break a little every time. And no one sees, no one hears. Only they do. Only this person. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's someone you left behind. But someone somewhere still lives the repetition of that love in the form of sound. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to understand it too. Or leave a comment saying, this song still lives in me. Because some pains don't die. They just learn to play on a low loop. This person is still waiting for a sign that never comes. Not a come back to me, but something simpler, more intimate, more invisible. A gesture, a text, an audio with that song again. Even if without words, even if just a link sent in the middle of the night. Without context, without a caption. Because sometimes a song says it all. More than any apology, more than any, hey, how are you? That doesn't convince anyone. More than any forced reunion. This person doesn't want an explanation. They want recognition. They want to know that it wasn't just them who felt it, that you also broke inside when you tried to listen once more, that you too got stuck on the most innocent verse, that you cried when their voice, the singer's voice, came back into your heart and made everything bleed like it did the first time. After all, how do you get over someone who still plays? Not on the skin, but in the air, in the sound, in the memory, in the invisible curve between one chord and another. This person knows that the music was never just music. It was code. It was a confession. It was a pact. It was an unspoken promise. It was the setting where you both left whole parts of yourselves. That's why they keep listening. And that's why you feel even if you don't want to feel anymore. Because there are songs that never lose their scent, nor their taste, nor their name. They stick to the soul. They stay, even when everything else fades away. Can you perceive what this does to someone? What is it like to risk listening to what destroys? What is it like to choose to relive a love that hasn't returned, but also hasn't died? This person doesn't want pity. They don't want a stage. They don't want an audience. They just want a second of reciprocity. A moment when the other side also says, I heard this song and thought of you. Maybe you've already done that, or you will. Maybe you've already felt the shiver down your spine when you accidentally played that track that seemed buried. And suddenly, everything came rushing back. The face, the touch, the scent of the day, the taste of absence. This person lives that every day. But no one knows. because they learn to smile while listening to what destroys. They learn to coexist with the sound ghost of the love they had, with the weight of a feeling that still echoes but no longer finds a response on the other side. And even so, even knowing that there's no turning back, they continue. Like someone entering a dark room but already knows the way. They know where to step, they know where to break. You already know the exact moment when your chest tightens. This person silently retraces that path. While the world turns, while social media shows new beginnings, while you might be living another story, this person is still listening to the story that hasn't ended. Or rather, the one you left unfinished. Because that's how it was, right? There was no period. Just distance. Just omission. Just a clean break. And now what remains are the songs. The ones from before. The ones that were yours. The ones that today are used as reminders or punishment. Can you handle that? Knowing that someone still repeats, suffers, holds on, relives everything you left behind. Do you feel guilt? Or do you feel nostalgia? Or do you feel the emptiness of someone who doesn't feel anything anymore? Comment here. This song is still mine, if some part of you still lives in the sound that remains. Because time passes, but certain tracks don't age, and this person knows that. That's why they don't switch it out. Don't skip it. Don't forget. Even when the heart cries out for help. Even when the body can no longer bear so much past. Music is not just a pastime. It's a ritual. It's survival. It's a way to hold on tightly to a piece of life that seemed eternal and suddenly vanished. Do you grasp the gravity of this? Maybe now you're listening to another soundtrack with someone else in another place making different promises. But nothing, absolutely nothing carries the same weight, the same story, the same depth, because only those who have truly loved know what it's like to hear a song and have to leave the room, to turn down the volume, to pretend they didn't feel anything. This person feels and doesn't pretend, and still they carry on. If you've lived this too, comment. This song breaks me inside, because maybe on some level this person is just waiting for that, a confirmation, a sign that they weren't the only one who felt, and you know they weren't. The music stopped, but the body didn't understand. Neither did the heart, and this person didn't turn off, they just pretended. They just stepped back a few paces to catch their breath, but even in the silence the song goes on. It reverberates inside, in every detail, in the scent of a piece of clothing that's been left behind, in the exact moment they used to send each other voice notes, in the invisible repetition of a routine that no longer exists but is still missed. Do you notice? It's no longer just about listening to a song, it's about existing within it, because that person no longer lives in the present. They live in the exact seconds when everything was still whole, and the only way to touch that again is by listening. With every chorus, a memory, with every pause, a held breath, with every note, a scream that nobody hears, but they do hear. Those who have lived this, they hear. They hear it in the vacant look, in the automatic response, in the tear that doesn't fall but weighs heavy. That person carries an entire world of sound within, and no one notices. They live smiling on the outside while the verses repeat, as if time were frozen on that track, in that melody, in that cursed song that was yours. And the most cruel part of it all is that this song continues to exist, even without you, even with the end, even with everything falling apart, because music doesn't need presence. It survives on memory, and this person has too many memories. They remember everything, where they were when they heard it for the first time, how you reacted, what you said to each other, hands touching without urgency, the comfortable silence between one track and another, the days when the world seemed to be reduced to a playlist with two names and only one story. That person hasn't forgotten any of it. And even if the whole world says, let it go, they can't. Because forgetting would mean erasing their own story. And no one erases what shaped their soul. You might even move on. You might even pretend that song doesn't mean anything anymore, but just let it play in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you'll crumble. No need to confess. The body knows. The soul feels. The heart doesn't lie. That's why that person is still there. Faithful to what was lived, even when alone, even when forgotten, even without return. Because love is sometimes like this, to stay, even when everything is already gone. To stay, even if the only thing left is sound, repeated, invisible, painful, but still true. If you've made it this far, write in the comments. I can still hear it, without shame, without fear, without needing to explain. Because maybe this is the only way to tell that person, or yourself. It wasn't just a phase, it wasn't just a love, it was a part of you that doesn't turn off. If this touched you, share it with someone, comment here, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel.